So, welcome to Portrait Podcast.
Hi.
we
I'll
don't-
warm up. I'll be all right.
For a week now.
Yeah, we don't usually do like a formal intro. We've tried a couple of things, couldn't be bothered with it. We usually just start speaking.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
Today we have Ian White from Some Comedy, yeah, from this other places.
Yeah. Originally Mother's Womb.
Mother's Womb.
Which was in England, but she was pointing north, so I've always been heading this direction. I think that's a
Consistent.
good thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm from. Yorkshire.
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 originally.
Yorkshire, but this is 27 years worth of Scotland's.
Nice.
Not done
What brought you up here?
very well. This university. I was coming to university. Most of my friends did uni the year before, and they all went away. So I thought, oh, that's what you do then.
Mm.
And I've been to Edinburgh one New Year, and it was great fun because it was New Year and everyone was in a good mood.
Yeah.
It's not always like that, is it? But yeah. So I thought, right, I'll try Scotland,
Yeah, fair enough.
and that brought me here. And then I came out my shell, and I thought, oh, I guess I'm best up here. I'll stay up here. And there's the short fish.
Yeah. I liked your shoes the other night. We'll get to the photos in a bit, but
All right. Yeah.
yeah.
I see
They
you
were
are
a bit
a far
bold.
more conservative.
Hey,
Down.
this is what I saw next to me. I went to bed this morning, as always, 9 a.m. And then I got up and had a cigarette at 2 because I still hadn't slept because of the screaming in my head. So I've had 3 hours sleep, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. So
You went to bed at 9 this morning.
well, I'm working nights at the moment.
Right.
Do I have to say more about that? It depends on the clients. No, yeah, it's residents. Call them residents. So I'm night porter at a hotel where I know everyone. It's like a big community type situation. Oh, there's more people I should look at as well. Yeah, read the room. So yeah, it keeps me occupied. It keeps giving me something to do during insomnia at the moment.
How do you find getting back to sleep in the mornings then? Difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And the dog downstairs has anxiety issues, so occasionally barks for ages. Yeah, I've never wished a smaller beast death before. It really is frustrating.
I can imagine.
But yeah, it was mainly the ones in my head this time, which isn't always the case. It's usually the dog, but the mind was not quiet today. That's why that's the same for everyone, isn't it?
So with your
It
night
is, isn't
porting,
it?
do you get a lot of material? Because I was talking to you about this the other day, where I've been to see you a couple months ago, or even 2 months ago, and then I saw you a couple of weeks ago, and the material was completely different, bar a requested joke that I asked for. But do you find you get a lot of inspiration from night porting?
But it's pretty much all I do at the moment. So if nothing comes from it, then I don't. Well, I'll exacerbate things. I'll make things up in that way, but I feel it has to come from some sort of reality.
So how's your own show is called Some Comedy, yeah, right?
Yes, yeah, that's the show I put on. Yeah.
So how did that start? Like, how do you make a comedy night, then get it going?
God, I must have been on a confident day. I started doing the comedy in Glasgow, which was a while ago, but that's where I found a community in a city, which was great. Just I don't know if we talk about community much, but I think we're losing that sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Pubs are dying as well, aren't they? Soon it'll be just rats, and then the planet will heal. Until then, yeah. So I found a community in Glasgow. I just kept in touch with people, and
Yeah.
then when I got back to where I came back to where I'd quit for a bit, and then slowly got back into it through this poetry group of people and this thing called Stage Fright, which maybe we'll talk about later if you want to. So it was other nights got me back into it, and then at the Smoking Goat, I'd started hosting quizzes again, which brought my confidence back as well. And then someone said, "Do you want to try comedy again?" So it kind of just evolved through other people, I guess. I don't think I pushed for it, but I was ready to do it again.
Okay, cool.
And then the community, everyone kind of keep in touch. Or the sort of people, for some reason, even if you meet them just at one gig, next time you see them, you feel like you know them, or you can like have an instant connection.
And with when you say you built a community, was that just from what you're saying, like pubs, or is it like the green room at an open night? Or
But
what is
yeah,
it?
yeah. I think the community is just there. Just I guess you're on a similar situation of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So there's people that have been doing it a while, and most of those people seem to be nice, good chats and open to chatting. And yeah, you see the same people. So in Glasgow as well, if I was going out on my own, I could just pop out on my own, go to, well, it was originally the Holt Bar near the stand. And there's
Right.
always going to be 5, 10 people there, you know. So there's always, you can go out and you can hang out with folk.
That's cool.
As opposed to just trying to find someone to
Yeah.
listen to your shit.
And do you find, is there a difference, see when you're meeting new comedians and stuff backstage, is there a difference between before the show and after the show? Like when people are nervous before and they don't want to chat maybe, or?
I guess there probably is. I think, yeah, there will be. There is. I mean, back when I started, I'd have been the most nervous one and just wandering about outside talking to myself. That was going through my material or gesticulating wildly. So maybe I didn't see it in other people because I always thought I was the one, but then I've always had this imposter syndrome as well. But that's not what you asked. But anyway, yeah, this imposter syndrome. So you always think, oh, I shouldn't be here because everyone else does this thing properly, and I'm just this person that's trying things out. So yeah, there's shyness, but I mean, at my gigs, I guess I just go and see them, then get them all chatting together, have them introduced to people, and just have a friendly chat, and then I'll be wandering around mingling
Yeah, you're super
and such.
welcome, and you're a great host, I think.
Oh,
from
that's
what I've
nice to
seen.
know. That's good.
Yeah, it was really good. Is that from your own experience of like what you would like in a host? Or?
Genuinely, where that came from when I started, I guess it's me as well, just to whoever I am. But when I started doing the quizzes, it was just hosting the quizzes, but being on a microphone, I was like, I'm so nervous again. Or even back in the lecturing days, I'd probably chat to some people before I had to start. And that just relaxed me as well, but it does work in relaxing the whole place. And so through my anxieties, I guess, through doing that with the quizzes, you get people talking to each other as well, so it became a good thing. So now I'm not as nervous, but I just like that feeling at the start of just going around saying hello.
Do you find
So it's for me, but it's also, I think it seems to work within the gigs that we're doing. It works for the atmosphere as well. It works for the build up.
Do you find there's any benefits in your performance through being more anxious or being more relaxed
I definitely get more relaxed
as you progress through a set?
Yeah, and beforehand, I mean, I'd be nervous for 3-5 days or a week, like a week or two, just stressing about it. Even though then the 5 minutes vanishes and then it's back to the chasm of
two-part
future.
question: How did you get involved with comedy? But you've also talked about having stopped for a period. What caused you to stop after you got started?
Which one first? Oh,
How did you get
go
started?
Lydia. Hey, that one. Yeah, I remember that bit. I started, well,
What age were you?
I was going to start. I was the shyest person at school, but that's the long story.
So we've
I
got
was
time.
painfully shy. All right, okay. I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, it's nice having company.
That's the only reason we have this.
Yeah. We talked about it in another episode. It's like I've been
just
working from home for years. This is a forced conversation.
It's just a facade.
Yeah. We've got the distance still as well, so.
Yeah, 2 meters. So if you've got
Safe
COVID, we're
space.
good.
Yeah. So I'm painfully shy at school, and I don't know if I'm just from having to do occasional interviews and thinking, oh, what will I say here and how will I make this a narrative? But I got on with everyone at school, but I do remember a teacher once showing this other new teacher trainer. She was naming everybody in the class, every single person. They said, oh, and that's Ian, you won't hear peep at him. And those things stick with you, I think.
Yeah.
Or just being at home, and whenever my mum had guests, I would run behind the sofa and bite it. And that was fine. I was never like trying to push me away from that. My mum or someone would say, oh, they're just shy. So I think I always had that in me. I don't want to blame my parents because it's a different generation, you know. But I think, yeah, so that was, maybe I was born with no mouth, and that's why, I mean, you don't remember the first 3 years, do you?
See, when you're at school and you're saying you were the quiet one,
Yeah.
like after school, were you watching comedy or anything? Or
Well, that's what I think. Yeah, I think I maybe immersed myself more in media. 'Cause it's that comedy and film always been my main obsessions or passions, right from I guess the 80s. Back when it was fine for the two Ronnies to black up, watching your grandma laugh and see you irritated. It was different times. So yeah, I immerse myself in that sort of thing. So I guess that we all become whatever our environments, whatever we create as our environments as well. So
It's funny how those little comments, because you can remember what your teacher said.
yeah.
How well those stick with you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Because that was a while back, presumably.
Oh, well, it's not one of those I was 28 years old situations. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
And so how
Should be dead now. I mean,
how did you get into comedy?
So I got into lecturing, which I fell into from being a demonstrator and such at uni here, which obviously brought me out my shell, but I think I was more confident in that because it was talking about film, which was my obsession, which I'd read a lot about, and that was my thing. So that gave me an ounce of confidence. And then some students once said you should try comedy, and I guess I'd never thought it would be me doing that, trying that sort of thing.
What was your first experience?
Wallflower. It was a 2-day course in Edinburgh to push myself. So there was 5 of us on the course. We learnt. I won't name who the teacher was, but we learnt nothing. But it was nice to meet them.
Yeah.
First day, the person talked about who they had met at the Fringe so far, so name dropped. Then talked about themselves for a bit. Then we were told how to pick a microphone out of its stand and put the stand over there.
Just like that.
Yeah. See, I've learned. Okay, I did learn something then. And it got to me, and I said, "Look, I'm shaking already. I'm not going to be doing anything with that microphone." So that's what we learned on day 1. And day 2, they spent. I keep remembering to say they because it won't give it away. Spent 5 hours on the first person, then looked at the watch and thought, "Oh, we've only got an hour." So rushed through the rest of us, and then said, "I'm somewhere else today, so I won't be at the gig. Good luck."
No.
So all 5 of us went to this gig and stood in the back corner. But the people I met there, which was maybe 12 years ago now, perhaps, still in touch with them. Not very much, but who do we keep in touch with a lot when you've got all these people on Facebook? So
Are they still doing comedy?
2 of them tried it for a bit and have occasionally done that sort of thing. And one person, he travels around, so he came he did some comedy last year.
Oh, nice.
It was the first time I'd seen him since then.
Yeah.
But again, it was just like, "Oh, how you doing?" Just back into whatever chat. So it was great. It was great for, again, just meeting new people and having to push into that experience. But yeah, I was put on last out of those 5 people, and I was just surprised I got up.
Headliner in your first gig?
Sweat. Oh, no. There's people that remembered the lines after me. That was very good, like the beginning, middle, and end. I don't know how they did it. So that's how I got it. But there was also a lecturer here, Blaine Savage. Is he still around?
Yeah.
Right. Real name, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Well, he never told me any other. He was always into comedy, and he'd come to a lot of the gigs, but he also did meditation, like giving you techniques to feel more relaxed, or just different techniques, visualizations. Not all of them worked, but some of them really worked for me. I just to have his support, I think, so that was a big part of it as well.
Well, so if you were like about to do a gig, and you're saying you use some of these meditation techniques, like, can you give an example?
The 2. So the visualizations of picturing a ball of stress burning away, I could never get that working. So I don't know if that's something to do with my brain. I could see it, but I felt I was forcing that. But there was one with pressing different pressure points on your face, and it's in order. I can't remember them anymore. But that would take like 5 minutes, so it'd become like a heartbeat, and it's just relaxing. There's another one, just pressure between your thumb and forefinger while thinking about. I guess I've stopped doing them, or maybe I do them instinctively now, so I'm not thinking about it as much. But that was another one. What was the other one? The other one's visualizing a circle in front of you. When you step into that circle, that's your safe space, and that's where you're doing these things.
Right.
It worked, or at least it worked to give me that to think about, rather than thinking.
Yeah, maybe just taking your mind away from the actual event itself.
Yeah.
Just enough of a concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So amalgamation of those 2 things, if that's where I use the word amalgamation, I don't know.
And in terms of your comedy voice, like, you're quite, say, like, alternative, and you have like your the mushroom shirt and the bear, and it's quite like kind of quirky comedy, and it's like you never know where it's going to go. So where, from someone that was
oh, that's a shame.
That's not you. No, I mean it in a good way. I mean it in a good way.
Sorry about that.
Like where? No, it's a good thing. It's not like.
I mean, the bear's just company, to be honest.
I'm just saying no one asks about that.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed to see Bear. Does Bear have a name?
Baxter.
Baxter.
But it precedes Anchorman. Just
right.
I didn't want people to think, oh, just take the name of the dog.
So, where did your like on stage persona come from? If you were quite like shy at school and stuff.
I don't know. I think when I started, it was more a character in I would have to progress into like feeling I was doing a scripted sentence, and every little bit had to be written, and I'd practice it over and over again. So I don't know if I'm more like myself now. I think I am, but so I used to do it to hide, like, yeah, it's we all wear masks all the time, don't we? Don't we really though? Don't we really though? Don't we really though?
We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking.
That's
From the mask.
From the mask.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very intelligent film, wasn't it?
I want to wear a mask. I was watching a couple of the podcasts back the other night, and every time I ask a question, like my eyes are up here, and then I was like sweating. Then I was like, I had this like anxiety sniff like every 3 seconds, and then I was like going like that, like trying to get it there. I'm like, what am I doing, man? So I was like, right, this time I'm going to try and come in and just like look at the
Be
guests.
normal.
Be normal.
All right. So this is still not nerve-wracking. Well, that's a big. I think nerve-wracking is a bit of a big word, but it's still like right. Like we've got to do this now with the podcast.
You when we first started this, you said a couple of times when we came in before guests arrived, I'm quite a wee bit nervous. And for me, for the most part, I come straight from work. I maybe try and get a change of shirt on the way so I don't reek the room out. And I don't generally have time to think about it too much. I have I'll try and drive home without the radio on or something in the van so I can think about the questions, think about the person. That's also the nice thing about having met you on Sunday evening and taking some photos. It's a nice informal way of getting to know the person, getting to know some of their idiosyncrasies, get a bit of their background, and then you can sort of make some sort of more informed questions, hopefully, as we go. But I generally speaking, I don't have that. I don't have enough thinking time to be in that position.
It's really relaxing, by the way. Yeah, because I was thinking, oh Christ, here we go, right.
I mean, it's fairly informal. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's
yes.
It's really just view it as a conversation.
And it effortlessly went that way as well, rather than like, oh, let's pretend to be
no
relaxed and such.
No false.
But definitely helped with Sunday then, rather than me coming in facing 4 people. I didn't know I was getting 4 people. Hello, we never even.
We're 20 minutes in at this point, but this is Lee. Lee makes sure the cameras are running and audio is protected. So to go back to the
Good job.
to get back to
where were we?
You got into comedy, but then you had a hiatus from it.
So hiatus. I can't remember when it was, but I think I just stopped enjoying it, or I was just feeling stressed about doing it. Too stressed without any enjoyment whatsoever. So I'd do a gig, completely forget about it. Just it wasn't in my head. I wasn't anywhere while it was on.
And do you enjoy? What kind of enjoyment do you get from it now? Is it during or after the fact?
It is during. I think it is during. I think it's when I get there. I don't like the night before still. I don't like especially when I'm working nights and I've got to now you've got to go to bed and then you've got to get up. And no matter how much preparation or lack of preparation I do, no matter how much it is the next day, I'll still be like, I didn't do much this time, did you? I'm like, thanks, in a voice. Can I have a cup of tea first? You never get a cup of tea first. But yeah, when I get there, I enjoy it. I enjoy just walking around. It used to be stressful getting there 2 hours early and realizing, thinking, no, there's no one here. And then that'd be my stress of like, oh, no one's going to come.
Right, okay.
So always finding some negatives.
So always like focusing on something that then...
Yeah, what could be bad about this? What could be
snowballs
wrong? What could be terrible? So I've stopped worrying about that as much. I realise now talking about it. Still not better when there's people there, though. It's better. What's the question? Yeah, I enjoy it a lot more getting there. I'm all right by then, going around having a wee chat with people. I never have a drink until the second section now. I have an energy drink, which I know causes my heart palpitations and makes me on edge. But that's part of the routine. It used to be a Cafe Patron, but I stopped that after doing a gig at 12:30 in the afternoon because I did not enjoy that Patron.
I was going to ask if you might did you use alcohol to try and subdue those thoughts, but then again, sometimes it perpetuates them as well.
Yeah. It was just one Patron. Like I can't remember what James Caan had in Misery, but it was that sort of. But he had something after he finished the book. I'll have one Patron before I try and do this talking thing.
What prompted you to return to comedy?
Well, so the reason I started it was that stress, but then I also went from Ayr to Glasgow to Edinburgh, and then found a gig that I was supposed to do, which turned out was outside the area of the actual Fringe itself,
Okay.
and he'd not advertised it at all. And I did my 5 minutes to the compere who was on his phone. One mate I'd not seen for 10 years, who said that was dark. And a Nigerian comic that said, I didn't understand a word of that, but you seem very animated. And then I travelled all the way back from Edinburgh to Glasgow to Ayr, and quit for 2 years. It's just, this isn't good, is it? I don't know what I was expecting at the time, but so I think that maybe gave me a reason to go, right, no, I'm not, rather than facing, I'm not enjoying it anymore.
You see, I totally respect the fact that you're saying you have this anxiety, imposter syndrome. You have these kind of worries before, but you still do it like month on month, and you do stand up, which is massively brave. So do you think there's like a rush you get from it that kind of like squashes your imposter syndrome, and you kind of like, if you don't do it, you really miss that kind of the whole feeling, even the worry leading up to it?
I think it does. And again, probably not thought about it that way until you mentioned it there. But I think again, when I get up and just say, I always do the pre-gig hello, and I think that calms me down as well. Like saying, we'll be on in 15 minutes, but then that gets me over the hump of
breaks the ice.
that first like, oh.
Because I would, as someone who also overthinks things, the setup and the goat, because you're there and you're welcoming people and you're meeting the new comics and you're sitting them down at a table, but then everyone's still eating dinner. So then when it comes to 9 o'clock, you're like, right, we need to get it all set up, and you're really worried, like, are people going to get annoyed that you're moving them? You're setting the chairs up. Are there enough people in? And it's not like if you are already overthinking, it's not the smoothest like set up to a night that could possibly be.
And just putting that fucking banner up as well. When you don't get up right, it just rang, slams down people.
Sorry, that was too slow in there.
I do. We should have maybe talked about that. No,
Oh, you can swear.
We don't have a no swearing policy.
I've not really got a toilety mouth, but anyway. Yeah.
And so we spoke before. I don't know if you want to talk about it or if it's like part of your act about no one mentioning the bear behind you. Do you want us to cut it out, or are you happy to talk about it?
I'm happy to talk about the bear.
Like putting it behind you in the act, but no one asking, just as like a little added.
Well, yeah, back, yeah. I like putting backs to there because he's been with me for 28 years now.
Right.
Since we had to do a puppet show in college at Leeds. So we had to do TV presenting and so on. Let's do puppets.
Okay.
So I said, I'll make one. Someone else said, I'll make one. So I spent ages ripping my brother's old teddy bear up and putting a sock up its back and giving it teeth that were always in my dad's cupboard, but we never talked about them. And 2 separate eyes, and then someone else just brought an Elmo. Fucking done nothing. And yeah, since then, it's nice to have him there. I used to do bits with him, but it felt contrived because giving him a voice. He's always been there. So I mean, I don't really talk to him, but but maybe I do, but I don't. But he doesn't talk outwardly. He doesn't have an exterior voice. So I like sitting in the background, and no one's ever. Well, one person's ever mentioned him in like 30, 40 gigs. So.
And what did they ask?
They asked if someone had shagged that bear, and I was a bit upset at that. Because that's my Baxter.
Yeah.
And then he picked it up and found the hole in its back where my hand usually goes. I really lost it. Apart from that, no one mentions it, or they say, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
To his face.
It's like Mr. Bean's bear, but in like, what is it, like in Stranger Things, when it
God,
goes to the dark side.
That's nice. Yeah, I do. If I'm positive Christmas occasionally, then I'll do banners as well. I'd like to make him bigger than me. Like he could look after me if I needed it. And he was sentient. It's not. I know he's not. So yeah, it just became a part of. I'll take him with me. It's like a blankie, I guess, something like that, or a pretend blankie. But I don't like giving him a voice because I felt weird doing that. We did an homage of Putting on the Rich from Young Frankenstein.
Right.
To the audience, so I said, who's seen Young Frankenstein? And everyone stared at me blankly.
Like we just did there.
Yeah.
We interrupt this broadcast to allow Kieran White to advertise to our massive audience.
New t-shirts! I've got new t-shirts! Look at these cool new t-shirts for White. They've got the name of the French show, the name of their album on them. That's so exciting. They're £12 or 2 for £20. But wait, there's more! I've got a new album coming out on the 21st of July. CDs haven't arrived yet, but they'll be coming very soon. You can get it on the 21st of July and on all the streaming services and iTunes and all that kind of stuff too. They say that they'll be £15. They'll be £15, and you can probably get a bundle. That's still not all. Have an Edinburgh Fringe show. It's free. It's the free fringe, the PVH free fringe every single day. Whistle Binkies, 3 p.m. free entry, but not the 13th, the 16th, or the 22nd. There's free entry every single day. Whistle Binkies, the wee room, Whistle Binkies, 3 p.m. wee room, Whistle Binkies, the wee Whistle Binkies room. Now hit me with that new merch.
The comedic influences are like people that certain comedians that really got you into it or inspire you.
I wonder about this, but I mean, I think there's a lot of people, because I watched whatever comedy on TV. I've not tried it for a while, but I found like Apollo. I just really did not. I rarely enjoyed the Apollo.
Yeah.
That's not the comedians. I think it's what goes out on the edit and what they think. Oh, this is what a big audience will enjoy. But I've not watched it for a while, so I maybe shouldn't really have that much of an opinion on it. Maybe it's changed. But back in the 90s and stuff, if there was any specials, there was a stand-up show, so that's people like Lee Mack and Stuart Lee and David Baddiel, all the Merry Whitehouse people. And then I think Bill Hicks's big show was when I was 18, so it just fit in really well with me becoming a young adult, or whatever you call them. They don't look like adults to me anymore, but that's a good thing. I'm not well inclined. My mum's pleased. Yeah, so it'd be people like that, but I don't think I'm like anyone. I guess a lot. Well, I also think back, the first thing I feel that me and my parents laughed in the same fashion, in the same way, was Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Like a physical humour, which maybe in later generations, sadly, was You've Been Framed. So I remember laughing the same way as a child. I was looking after then, and I'm like, it's not really the same, is it? But, so that sort of humour, and I guess that, and growing up, if that's the things that stay with you because your brain's empty at that point. So Morecambe and Wise is a biggie as well, and who else are the huge ones? Those two, Fawlty Towers, Blackadder, and that's when you get into writing and things as well. I still go back to them. Does your younger generation, is any of them still?
I like Fawlty Towers. I watched that quite a lot. It's usually on repeats and stuff like that, and the Python films and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
Less so Morecambe and Wise, but I have seen like the Two Ronnies and all that in Morecambe and Wise. I've seen like clips, but I've not really watched it properly.
That was a big part of the 80s Saturday night TV.
Yeah. And Reeves and Mortimer, are you?
Oh yeah, Reeves and Mortimer. So I can't think what age I was then, but I think I'd just hit sixth form. Reeves and Mortimer. And they've obviously got the influence of Morecambe and Wise and whatever other influences. Yeah. I think there's always been something decent, or if there's a sitcom, I'll try it, and sometimes don't like it straight away, but if you try it again, it's like, oh no, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any recent ones, but again, it's not really. We don't watch TV in the same way, do we? Staff Let's Flats really perked me up. I don't know if you watch Staff Let's Flats. It's on Channel 4.
Right. What's it called?
Staff Let's Flats. During the first episode, my brain was going, you could be doing anything else right now. And then something happened. I thought, oh, that's amazing. And it's 3 series, and you'd recognise some of the people in it.
Right.
Yes.
And you started off by going into a comedy course, which I'm quite interested by, because a number of people have said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that would be the route into the genre. I thought it would be naturally funny. Always thought, right, I could take this and do, rather than just be funny around my friends, it could be funny for an audience. But a number of people that we've had on so far have talked about either having been through a course, or that they've known people who've been through courses. And from a layman's perspective, that was quite surprising.
And it has been a lot of the people you've had on.
It seems to have been an influence on a number of people. I say a number, this is number 7, so it's relative to the people we've had on, but it seems to have been a common thread.
I guess it's that gets you over that first hurdle in a way then, and I don't know when courses started. I don't know if it's always been there. I guess it hasn't always been there, but
no. How did you come across a course like that? Was it something you were looking for?
Or did you? I was looking for. I think I'd mentioned to maybe 1 or 2 friends, and mentioned to many friends, and want to mention to a bunch of people, and then be like, oh, I've got to do that now, haven't I? So
you
a friend said, I just found this. Friend who always goes to the Fringe was looking through the programme, and so I found this, and I thought, right, I'm just doing it. I can't remember how much it was, but it was affordable for the 2 days.
It was a sort of 2-day.
Yeah,
course.
day 1 microphone, day 2 I need to go now.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
You're either going to fly or you're going to fall out there.
Yeah.
I do, when you're talking about the route in, like I do think there's not always that translation of like people who are funny in person to comedians, because comedians, like, you're kind of writing your people that are funny in person tend to be, they're repeating something they've heard, they're loud, they're brash. I'm just going from my experience. I'm trying to think. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I think it
Your
depends.
stereotype of like
yeah,
the funny
I think,
guy.
I mean, picture them as the extrovert rather than.
Yeah.
And quite often it's the loudest person in the room because they command attention
Yeah.
purely because they're loud, not necessarily because they've got the most to say or the funniest or most insightful. But yeah, they catch attention.
But with stand up, it's got the whole creative process. I suppose you'd probably do get the big loud extroverts as well.
Yeah, you do. You get. But I mean, how do you write your material? Do you write or?
I do write. I used to write down every little bit, like I think I maybe said earlier, like, and then I'd practice it, and then I'd write it down 3 times from memory.
Right.
That was how I had to go through the process.
Have you met Craig Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did know Craig, because Craig talked about having sort of over rehearsed at times his pieces to the point where some of the feedback he was getting was to release it a little bit and not be so prescribed in how he's saying what he's saying, and to just to have the ideas and the framework there, but allow it to be a lot more free flowing rather than very almost like a lecture where everything's very stunted. How do you find the balance there?
I think that's maybe how I was as well, but that was the only way I could comfortably get up there. So it would be, I guess, I would never say effortless, because I don't think it was effortless, but it becomes more relaxed. Or now I'm doing this thing, and I guess going through stuff again and again, and I just need the first word, and I know where I'm going with it. Or it can be a little looser. I'm not as stressed about it being structured, but then I've not really done that many sets recently. I know I do my own material at my nights, but it's emceeing, so that does feel a bit more relaxed, and hopefully that relaxes everyone else.
So what are the main differences that you found hosting a night compared to just doing like a 5 or 10 minute set?
If it's 5 or 10 minutes, I'd have to know exactly which bits I'm doing. I'm sure you could change with time, but I'd have to know. I'd have to practice and practice and practice to make sure I'm on something like 7 minutes room for. Well, if there's no laughter breaks, then I do like the indifference of strangers, so like this big quiet emptiness.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I was on, then I'd be on someone else's stage as well, so I'd want to be more, I've never used the word professional for me, but just more, I knew exactly what was going to be happening.
And when you write, I know you were doing that, I'm guessing pen and paper, but...
Oh yeah, did I mime pen and paper? And then,
do you have to be in like a certain mood, or is there like a time where you feel inspired to write?
I guess with now doing this night pod run, a lot of the time is just sitting and watching. I'm at work, so I only watch documentaries in black and white European cinema. I'm not there to have fun. 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning, the film The Innocents, that's not one to watch at 4 in the morning. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
I think it's a Swedish horror.
So do you find like night porn? Because
so then my mind's a bit more. There's not as much going on. I know exactly. Yeah, I know I'm there for a reason, but also I've got time to think. So sometimes, I guess for the week before the gig, I'll end up just writing notes and things, because then I'll be like, come on, what's been happening, or anything that's happened over the threesome I was offered, which I mentioned at the last gig. That happened about 2 weeks into that month. So I thought, oh, that's good. I'm glad it's 2 men, because that's going to make it different for me.
Just zoom in the face.
But like I said, also they were very handsome, so I should have been I was flattered.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only so far you can get new material.
Anything for the bit, as
what
they
length
say.
do you go to?
So you mentioned movies a few times as your other passion. Does any of that inspire your like creativity, or like what got you into the films?
What got me into films is just I was rather introverted. I did get on with everyone at school. I don't remember, there was no bullying or anything. Or
Yeah.
I think the only bullying was making me do a voice of someone. Heard me do a voice of. That was. Or I remember, I accidentally spat on James Miller, but he was the big bully from the upstairs, from the school above us. Then he put some of the sandpit in me grey flannel tracky bottoms. But fair enough, that wasn't bullying. That was because
Retaliation.
I'd spat in the air because I'd been with some people for an hour and I hadn't said anything. So I'll spit on the floor, and then it's like I'm involved. But I forgot about wind.
Lee does that in here.
James, if you're watching, this one's for you.
Still picking sand.
Why did I go there? Oh yeah, so no, I did get on with everyone, but yeah. So I think I watched a lot of films. My first job, I managed to save up and buy a video recorder, so then I didn't have to go downstairs at all. Speak to my family during the disintegration of their marriage. Just go upstairs out of the way.
Do you find, because the films you've mentioned, I would consider like the films that are probably brought up if you're studying filmmaking, and they sound quite like you're saying, like the black and white European films and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you think if you're like a film buff, you become like, you don't like your standard films that a lot of people, you don't like the mainstream stuff, you have to get into the arty stuff, and does that translate to comedy?
Oh.
Getting deep. Like it.
Like what?
Getting deep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say, people that just like mainstream are idiots.
Yeah.
Because they've not evolved since school.
Just
I
insinuate.
liked Star Wars when I was a child, but I moved on.
Yeah.
It's all right. Star Wars is all right.
I can't stand it.
Oh.
I like it.
Yeah, it's all right. I tried to rewatch it.
Or Treks. Star Trek.
What was that? Right, on TV back in the day, you only had your 4 channels, see, so you'd have to watch what was on back then. And there was Movie Drome. There wasn't many films on because there was maybe one film a night, and you'd get all your Indiana Jones and such, and you had to wait till they're on TV because you didn't get a video recorded till the late 80s. And he annoyed your mother because he recorded one episode of Top of the Pops, and you decided, I want to watch it again. And they let you because they'd give them peace for 25 minutes, excluding credits. So there's Movie Drome. There was lots of wee shows that did play like indie films or played old, like Channel 4 played a lot of films from around the world. And until then, I guess we'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think I got into that because I was always into film. Then that was an avenue into different stuff. So that was a good thing about not having much choice back then.
Yeah.
That's what gravitated me to, and I became interested in it. I only went to uni to do film because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just faffing about with life, and then a mate said, I'm doing a film course in Leeds, and I thought, I like film. So that was the
Same.
big intelligent
Started
thing that
filmmaking
led
school,
me
right?
to yeah. But yeah, I think if you watch a lot of things, then you want to look for a different type of, not a different type of narrative, but if you've seen the same story hundreds of times, it's great to see it being used in an innovative way, or films that aren't there to make you go, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's
The reason I ask with comedy and like your taste evolving since you've been into comedy, are you now appreciating different types of comics? Because I was thinking back like when I was young, and it was the stuff that now I feel even like bad for laughing at, it's like so out there, but like, when you're like 15, 16, you're watching Eddie Murphy, Dilly Dace and Raw, and I was dying laughing, and now I'm like, oh.
I think that was probably my first one as well.
Yeah.
Like special, like actual long one. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was hilarious, but good grief.
Yeah. It's definitely
There's not much of it that's
close
still
to the bone,
funny.
isn't it? Yeah.
That woman falling down the stairs, spilling an ice cream. You can still spill ice creams and talk about it, can't you?
Yeah. I wasn't all bad, but
It wasn't all bad, no. Yeah.
So, when it comes to your material, where do you stand on? Do you have sort of ethics and morality when it comes to the material, or is there stuff that's off limits?
I think, I mean, I've never had issues with race or sexuality. I remember, I sometimes think back to the early school, and there was one guy who was always called Bender. I think about him a lot and think, I hope he got through that all right, or how was that for him? I think he had a slightly effeminate nature, so I don't know. He also once laughed at me and Jim because my underpants had half-peeled bananas on them, but I didn't get that was funny. So that stuck with me as well. So I did wish him dead for a little bit. So I've never had an issue with that. So as far as morality, I don't think I'd sometimes worry about going back to that threesome one. I did worry about I don't want people to think I'm saying, oh, I'd never sleep with.
Yeah.
I did struggle with that before I did it, but it seemed all right at the time. It's that punching up and punching down as well. I don't want to punch down.
Do you think that's a benefit of overthinking because you're already one step ahead and being offensive?
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, I've always judged it. I've already judged everything. I like to say 10 times over before anyone else gets a chance. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So it's never apart from things like that. I mean, I know people don't like me saying some things on stage, but that's fine. I don't have a problem with some of the things I say. Other people might be offended, just offended by the images it puts in their head, but that's their fault.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it comes down to intent as well.
Yes, very good. Yep.
That's just how I would see it. It's not something we come up against in our work or in this podcast really, because it's conversational. We're not making statements. We're asking questions. And if the guest makes a statement, that's on them. I'll put a disclaimer on it. That protects us.
What did I do? I didn't do anything yet, did I?
No. Or we just edit it out.
I was going to say the intent argument's interesting because I know, like, I'm guessing where you're thinking of is, let's say, like Ricky Gervais, and he talks quite deeply about, it's all about intent. But I don't think comedy's black and white. This is just me personally, and I love Ricky Gervais, like all the Office and Extras and everything like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, let's not alienate him as a future guest.
No, but I love him, but I think at a certain point, surely the material, it can't be black and white where it's like, I had good intent, therefore I can say whatever I want.
No, there's got to be accountability for what it is you're saying.
Yeah, and the choices of like a few massive comics recently, they go hard on trans people.
Yeah.
It just seems a bit like you're capable of more. So why jump on that? Or is it because then you look at the media and you say, like, the media are really acting as if this trans thing's a huge argument. It's all anyone talks about, but it's not really. It's just trying to do better for a marginalised
current
group.
carrot while everything else happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just follow this carrot.
And like certain papers will try and make that inflammatory because they know people that hate them will click on it, or people that want to support them will click on it. And then it becomes the zeitgeist, and then comedians are like, oh, I'm going to make a joke about that. But at the same time, you need to kind of step back and be like, come on, like, what are you doing?
I think the thing is, at the moment, it's incredibly polarising.
Yeah.
And that in itself brings a lot of attention to it, because someone says something fairly innocuous, and if you're on the left or the right of it, then you're against it, and it becomes just us and them. And I think that it's just feeding into a very negative spiral about that subject in particular at the moment. But I dare say, and I haven't paid attention to it previously, it's been similar type of thing going back through the ages as well. There's always something that's in the moment. That was probably race, then it was probably sex before, women versus men's rights, that type of thing. And things move on, but comedy does help to bring light to it, probably no matter what the inference is from the comedian, if it's good or bad, it's helping bring light to a subject, and it's making it a wider talking point. And that in itself is probably healthy, even if it comes from an unhealthy place. Perhaps.
Yeah. I feel I've gotten to that thing where I'm in a pub with 4 people, so I think, well, I won't say anything then because everyone else will have better things to say.
No, not at all.
That's good. No, it's good that I like that. I like being present for that.
Yeah, to go back, I'm conscious of that as well, as us being podcast hosts and giving our opinion. When who are we to give our opinion? No one cares.
Who is anyone though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay, that's the main question that'll be going around my head at tonight's shift.
Who is anyone?
Yeah, I'll be whispering that to a sleeping resident. Who am I?
Who are you?
So, if that's a nice segue into video work.
Should have got a nice segue. That's our segue.
Yeah.
I was the middle-aged man in Andy Warhol's Sleep.
The what?
I was in an 8-hour film that Andy Warhol made in the 60s. I wasn't alive yet, but that might be a connection between the Sleep and the... Never watched it. That's one I won't watch. 8 hours of a man sleeping.
Are you writing that down?
Are you going to watch that in future?
Oh,
Like,
it's an option.
it's,
So, I believe you've done music videos for people like Sucio Pero. You're saying like the rapper Hydro, Glorious Failure. I'm not familiar with the last two. But how did you get into that? How did you find
that
that?
was, I guess, well, during my uni days, I did enjoy all the theory. Well, I enjoyed the film analysis more than the theory, I guess. Some of the theories now I can maybe apply a bit more, but it's just a lot of, you know. So the analysis I really enjoyed, and that's what got me into a lot of different films as well. Even like stuff like Sunrise, like silent films, that was incredible watch. So the practical stuff I was always into, I guess, and I enjoyed when I was in Leeds College. It was my scripts that were picked, so I was always doing a lot of the work because it was just, I'll do this now, and they've asked us to maybe do a script, so that's what I'd do for like a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was a technician at uni, and that got me connected with our Dragon from Sucio Pero. And he knew I'd done stuff. I think we did a few live gigs with him first and just filmed them like a 3-camera thing, and then I'd spend ages doing the editing.
Cool.
And then, so yeah, was it the first few Sucio videos? One of them was all the archive footage from all the gigs, which it was called Cyclops at the time. But you know Dave Rossi, don't you? If you came across Dave Rossi, no?
Recognise the name, yeah.
Right, yeah. He's a painter now, and yeah.
Ferrero Rossi.
Yeah,
That's the
Ferrero
name,
Rossi.
Yeah.
Took me ages to get that joke, and then I was like, "That's brilliant." Couldn't get it first. So he'd done a lot of archives, so it was just an editing project, which took ages because it was like 5 hours of material. But I enjoyed trying to do that. First few Dave shot, and then we shot some together. It's just really smashing people again. And short form concept, so having like a week or two to really get your teeth into something.
So when you said you did script writing, did you also like plan the video or come up with the concepts?
Some of them I did.
other
Some of
ones?
them I did. Some of them. One of them was Jamie from Reuben, who's another awesome band that was around at the same time. I think Jamie Linman does his own stuff now, but he directed that one, and then we sat and edited it for 2 days on the trot. I did a few for concepts, but I think a lot of them we just come up with together, or I was just experimenting with different editing and just trying to see what I could do with old Final Cut Pro back in the day.
Yeah.
And then we'd put all these different things together, and so it's just amalgamation of different styles. Some of them didn't go together very well, but it was good fun. And the Hydro ones was a rapper rapping at camera.
Okay.
So, and yeah, just driving us around Glasgow.
Is that like a wide angle just kind of following? Or
Yeah, and low angle makes them all dominant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Big.
There's the techniques there, but don't do it in documentary because you're forcing the audience to think something.
All right.
But with rap, it's fine, isn't it? Or with music videos, it's fine. Just singing a silly song, aren't they? Singing a bit of a song. It's a little song, isn't it? Doesn't matter. So yeah, some of them would be concepts. Who else was it? Glorious Failure was one of the guys came up with the main concept, and I had structured it via text. I'd structured the whole song into a structure of like, there's the narrative, so I'll need that many shots there and that many shots there, and just trying to work out a structure in that way.
Cool.
I don't know if I answered any question there.
No,
I
you
said
absolutely
something about
did,
silly
yeah.
songs, but songs can be profound and beautiful, so I don't know why I said silly songs. I wasn't thinking of. Maybe I've just got.
fine.
You mentioned comedy earlier. I've just had Russ Abbott. Oh, what an atmosphere in my head! Because that's probably the first Scottish accent I ever thought I'd heard.
Right. Okay.
Again, that's before anyone else's time here. Isn't it?
Our first guest will probably know Kieran. He does all. He's got a French show with old Scottish songs. Shout out at C White. So when you said you wrote scripts at Leeds, what kind of scripts were they?
It was the early 90s, so it was there was too much swearing in it because
Okay.
Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction had just came out.
Yeah.
But that was the same era as that, and Jim Jarmusch and Richard Linklater, which were all talkies, so mine were quite talky films and dialogue led.
Okay.
But that was kind of the era at the time. Or one of the main indie things undercurrent of film at the time was a lot of chat.
Yeah.
Where am I going with this? I don't know.
No, I was just asking like what kind of scripts.
So, well, they'd give us a concept as well. So one was, I didn't like that one. No, I'll just talk about it anyway. No, just do the internal monologue for a bit like this, but outwardly. Just keep going 'cause I have no idea where I was going there. There's that picture again that was there before. Why would it move?
I like to think that it has such resonance as a piece of art that it's capable of movement. That's how lifelike it is. It's like Paul's in the room with us.
It's one of those
Is he
pictures
dead?
that
Is he
the
dead?
eyes.
It's kind of, I mean, it's very Mona Lisa-esque, and I do
It's
hope
Mona
one day it will
Lisa.
be recognised.
When I
Yeah.
said Paul's co-host, and it's actually just that sitting on the chair.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know if it's very interesting. The thing that I mean, they'd always give you a brief. So one was just do it with we want long takes. So I wrote it so that people would be sitting close to each other, and it was this long dialogue-based thing. So yeah,
No,
it was
that-
called
that
when
is
the
really
party. It was
interesting.
called when the party's over. So it started with a duologue outside, and then so that was a long take, and then a person would come in and feed us back, so we could go all the way to the indoors in
Okay.
the same shot. So it was all worked out. So we had to work out the narrative and
One long
blocking.
take.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
And then so we ended up doing it in 5 or 6 takes, just because it was all crafted that way. But that I like those kind of more extreme briefs though that forced you to think a certain way rather than do a film about grief. They were like, fucking hell, that's
Yeah.
a big subject, but it structures you, it makes your brain structured, it forces your brain to think in a different way. I think. So.
Mhm.
There was it's not Ferris Bueller, it's something like that. There was a course when I started the filmmaking course here. There was one long shot and it went on for like 5 minutes, but we were studying it.
Right.
I don't know if it was you. It was our lecturer here. It must have been 14, 15 years ago.
I think I was here then. Was I?
That would be an interesting one.
we
wouldn't
watched
it?
it on
When
a
did I
screen.
have my breakdown?
It was like
When was I put off with anxiety? When was that?
it was something like,
Yeah, Ferry Bueller did have that. Could it be Before Sunrise? That,
or maybe
one of those. That's two people talking a lot, and there's a lot of long takes. And
because it reminded me, it stuck in my head. And then when I watched True Detective later on with
oh, that long take in about episode 5.
biker
My
gang and
God,
stuff, so
that's
good.
amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you saw that. So
Yeah, I
that's cool.
rewatched it. I rewatched it just during lockdown 'cause I'd run out of Mad Men. And
Oh, right, okay.
Sopranos.
I've never watched Mad Men.
Yeah, it was,
I-
it was really good.
I started to the other week, and I haven't got past the second episode really, just ran out of time.
Oh, there's like hundreds though, isn't it? It's
Oh, I
like,
mean,
right.
it's like feels like a proper commitment going down that
Yeah, yeah.
one. But I quite enjoyed it. Caitlin hated it. That's my girlfriend because of the sexism. But it's not glorifying.
It's about
It's just
that.
a commentary
It's
on
about totally. It's a commentary about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
Elizabeth
different time
Moss is
period.
always exciting to watch. I think so. It's one of
Yeah.
her early roles.
it. But no,
Some good
it's
people in
I'll need to go revisit that.
But yeah, I enjoyed lockdown for that. I mean, I'd had a bit of a wobble anyway, so I didn't realise lockdown was happening. I was just having my own quiet time. And 2 weeks in, I was like, oh,
Now the-
everyone's doing this.
Now the
brilliant.
government's telling everyone to do it.
Yeah.
And
I've got this down anyway. Yeah, I can do this.
Did you find that lockdown helped you then in your personal situation? Is that something?
I didn't know what I was doing myself, and I ended up going to a call centre because someone said, "Oh, just do that," and I thought, "Yeah, I could do that. I'm good at chatting to people, but then you've got to make people get more bank cards and things." And straight away, I was like, "I hate this." And then I got told off. Someone was shouting at me about 100 grand, and I said, "Half the world don't own shoes." And I got pulled up about that. I had what turned out to be a panic attack trying to go to work, so I was put
Oh
off.
man.
So I should have never been there, and everyone that knows me said that's not a place for you, and they were right. So yeah. So then I was fine. I was getting paid briefly, and then lockdown happened. So
Was that when you said that in a call center? Was it a recorded call when you get feedback?
yeah, because
after?
they record occasional calls, and they must have just gotten to that one.
I was speaking to a
Yeah,
guy yesterday.
I don't
Actually,
regret it. It's right, isn't it?
yeah, that's absolutely right. I was
Yeah.
speaking to a guy yesterday and they record calls and they take it as negative feedback. In the bit where say like there's waiting music, and if you're sitting like, hurry up, man, what the fuck? That's getting recorded as well.
oh,
I didn't know
really?
that.
That
And
bit
that
in
goes in-
between.
that goes
Everyone's
into-
saying that.
That goes into the workers' feedback, as in like your customer's pissed off.
No wonder though they're sitting on hold, but everyone gets on hold at some point and gets
Yeah,
pissed
yeah,
off. It's not a reflective of the person they're
I mean,
talking
yeah,
to.
someone's trying to do the job,
Yeah.
and they don't get much training.
Yeah, I've said some
Say that for sure.
daft stuff, but I didn't
Yeah.
know that at all. Anyway,
The teacher was good if you were. I wasn't a 16-year-old girl, so the teacher didn't give them much time. But it was mentioned online as well. I think he's still.
oh really?
Yeah, I think he's doing very well.
We'll put his Instagram up here. So, continuing the theme of creativity. Oh, sorry?
That's 55 minutes.
Of our photos?
Shout your creativity.
What happens in 55 minutes?
We're going to show you the photos.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to be
before that.
You know, when I used to take you need to take a pill or something.
I tried to say creativity. I was like,
We'll have the pill in hand next time you try to do that.
I've never seen someone so young having a mini stroke. That was an absolute treat. Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
I didn't even have the mic on for that.
Oh, that's a shame.
Background ambience and we having a stroke.
It's okay, that camera mic will pick it up.
Cool.
Before we move on to the photos, with the stage fright and the poetry or the acting, is there anything you would like to cover?
What did I say? Stage fright was just the thing we did briefly. When I got back, when I fell out with comedy and fell out with myself or whatever, then found a poetry group just through being at the Smoking Goat one day, and they put poetry on. I thought I could do one of my poems. I wrote about 300 poems when I was 18.
All right.
I didn't know it was there. So again, I was not on my own a lot, but I was like, I'm just doing
Quite
this.
prolific.
It was all right for the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back at them now, you might say something different, but
Was there a subject matter or was it broad?
yeah. Well, there's one a Yorkshire poem that explains the lifespan of a leaf, which is one of my favourites, but I don't know why I wrote that.
I like
There's
that
a lot about killing myself, but I didn't know I felt like that way at 18. I thought it was a lot later on. I mean, I wouldn't. I dislike myself far too much to commit suicide, but that's a line I do on stage, so that's like material. Where were we going? That came from stage fright, and I'll go, yeah.
Poetry.
I was
We've
really
heard the
upset. I
poetry
was
there.
upset quite a lot. I'm so different. It's like everybody else. So no, the poems are just something I do, and I enjoyed doing that. And I guess it's skill as well. We in breaks, me and a mate wrote a comic for like half a year, just writing comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I like doing that sort of thing. So anyway, the comedy finished for a bit, and then there was a poetry thing. So that got us in touch with these poet people who tend to be quiet types as well. So stage fright was a thing where we all got together and we wrote together. So we'd give each other activities, so we're making ourselves be creative, and then people had come that had never been in front of a microphone. So stage fright was getting us all to just perform, or not perform, just read something.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really good time and that was a good just been part of something of that's. You can see some people have gone on to just keep performing now. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
a great
cool.
time. So that was a really good group to be a part of. I see some of them still.
Cool.
Or they'll come to the gigs. So yeah, stage fright was a really good thing and a good idea.
Yeah.
So
Is-
that's what I mentioned.
Is that a localized group or is it like a countrywide?
Yeah,
thing?
it was Fresh Air at the time in Air,
Right.
which put like galleries on and different creative arts, and it wasn't about selling. It was just about creating and showing your work. So yeah.
Is that,
They-
is that the guy from? Is it Ian? Somebody's involved in that? The other Ian. He's like bald. He has a cafe.
Robert.
Robert. That's it. Robert Singer or something.
Singer, Robert
that's
Singer,
it.
yeah.
Ian.
Yeah. There's also a guy who covered himself and did this thing with fire, but it didn't turn out he was very good. He burnt himself a bit. A small child cried.
I
I bet he cried as well.
went to one. It was so strange. There's this guy, and I think he was going over broken glass and stuff and doing headstands.
Oh no, that's him.
Is that him?
Yeah,
He
he
kept
started bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, he just kept
Sorry,
cutting
it wasn't
himself.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and
met him since. He's a lovely guy.
yeah. And there's a guy
Sorry,
after
that's what it was. Yeah, what I was after him?
him, and it looked like, you know, if there's like a 5-year-old that's just seen Power Rangers just jumping about doing kicks. It was that,
Yeah.
like, none of it was good. He was just jumping about kicking
Oh
with
yeah, I
music
met him
on.
since as well. He's lovely, but
Yeah,
yes.
everyone was a lovely guy, but it was just the things they put on was so surreal. And I was laughing, thinking maybe it's
Yes.
tongue in cheek.
That's
and
the
everyone,
one.
everyone
yeah.
was glaring
That was
at me.
it was the old Woolworths, wasn't it? And they'd filled that with stuff. So I think that's the first time I met all the Fresh Air people, because Dave Rossi had stuff there. So that's when I met
Yeah,
a bunch of
with the
them.
burgers and stuff. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember-
yeah,
that's why I remember it. Yeah,
That's intense.
yeah. No, that was
It's made me
surreal.
giggle though. It's a good memory.
Speaking of intense,
All right,
we're now going to get into some of the photos we've taken.
right.
Who do we want to go first here, Daryl or Struan?
You go.
I like how I'm speaking about myself in the third person.
Oh.
said me first though.
This all feels like it's going to be negative feedback. For
No, 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 not at all. If,
Some comments.
these are well, don't be negative.
Okay.
People to come on.
And I don't want to cry on here.
Okay, I've really enjoyed this. Can we keep going?
Yeah, yeah. So we both got about 15. I think I've got 18 photos, and so obviously this week I went quantity over quality.
All right, right. Remember, I've got cataracts because I got laser eye surgery, so I can't see that far until I get my operation.
Can you see this at all, or can we bring it forward for you?
I recognise it's me. I know I need to move this as well. All right, okay. Let's shift on in. Oh my God. Yeah, that's me, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And a rose.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of these, but they've come out of order since we downloaded.
Oh, no worries.
That was a very random one in the side of the building. I think you were pulling back your gorgeous locks at the time.
I'd run out of places to put my arms, and then I forgot where arms are supposed to go. So
It's when you become aware of your arms.
Yeah, yeah. Then it's like, where do they usually sit? I'm not sure.
Another rose. I think given the time of year, we're falling back on flowers quite often,
Right.
which is why we had you sit down and let the sort of.
Yeah, I've only just met you. That seemed to be your main thing. This is flowers. Go on the flowers.
You're gonna sit in these flowers.
Yeah.
It's like a recurring. It's a recurring thing now with the flowers that you.
It is. I mean, it's time of year. I mean, I'm gonna really struggle when we get into winter for this.
Evergreen.
Yeah.
But spring we're doing okay. This was very well. It was almost. What's the name of the comedy again? Afterlife-esque. Ricky
All
Gervais.
right. I was thinking more Forrest Gump. That was the first
Oh, right.
famous bench.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
arguably more famous.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Afterlife. I don't know what to think. Yeah. Oh, it was emotional.
I feel like what we should have
He
had
had
here
lots
was
of footage, didn't he, of him laughing at his dying wife. Every episode,
The
he had
prank
another new
videos.
clip of laughing at his dying wife.
I feel like what we should have done here was have you and Baxter at opposite ends of the bench to make it seem like there'd been a fallout. And there had been a wee rift
Well,
taken in.
it's happened. Yeah, sometimes.
He gets cheeky.
I forgot to take him to York for Christmas, and I felt he was looking at me differently when I got back.
This was after you'd resolved the
Well.
argument with him.
God, that's a good throw-in.
Or maybe you were just throwing him away.
Never. Oh, maybe that. Yeah, that's how I got him.
You threw him up like
Oh, it's-
20 times and never dropped once.
I
to be
know.
fair.
Yeah, I
good
didn't
hands.
drop him
I was
at all.
impressed.
Yeah.
Again, going back to an old favourite with the flowers. And I know we did discuss colour or black and
Yeah.
white, and you talked about probably preferring colour for.
I think
As
I
a
should
comment.
say, yeah. Well, I'm not saying that black and white has to mean a certain thing, but
I felt some of the compositions just
yeah, no, I like that.
felt
I
like they lended
yeah, and the
themselves
contrast.
to.
Yeah.
There was a lack of colour in those shots anyway. They're very monotone, so
Yeah,
Just-
so it was a big pink face and a lot of greys.
so just to lean into that. Again, I was shooting this through the flowers.
Oh.
And that was Darryl shooting you from the front, and I did just ask you to turn round and
Uh-huh.
look towards me.
I like that one.
That's some good rule of thirds there. Stu.
Yes, thank you.
Nice, yeah.
Occasionally, I get something right. I've got. I mean, okay, a lot of these were shot at like multiple shots of the same composition. I think I had 256 photos I started with, and got down to 18, and that 18 should well.
Shh. We're trying to sell the idea of us taking portraits.
Try to be humble rather than.
Don't look behind the curtain.
Don't want to come off too braggadocious. But what we're saying is we're willing to put a lot of shots. into this.
Braggadocious.
Yeah, that's a word. This was you, Baxter, and the Me book.
That was an early one, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, that was just the beginning of the evening.
Yeah. Smashing ones. Oh,
And Baxter
I
looking
didn't
a
mean
little
to do
bit.
that. Oh. Firstborn.
And then just a little
Uh-huh.
over the shoulder, because that was very nice, bold.
black and white. The
contrasty.
black and white does work really well.
It kind of pulls it out quite neatly here.
Are you okay with the book and the contents being in it?
I can't remember what it says on there. Can you see?
You
I think
can-
it's just headings, like
Okay.
headings of an old set. What's on there?
I can't see.
It's fine. It doesn't say anything.
There was I did have a look. There was nothing particularly.
Yeah. It's just I think I just.
Well, I didn't have your home phone number on it or something like that.
Struan's doing an open mic next week.
Just say the word and then shrug.
And again,
was a visual
another
gag.
black and white. I think this was the
No, black and white's smashing.
setting in the keg,
Yeah, that was.
which we did replace.
that
Well, we
was-
put back.
There's our very own David Allen that suggested the keg, and it's also my favourite photo of the keg. I love the idea.
I mean, it's almost as though they knew that
We were going to be
we
there.
would be taking photos.
Yeah.
But
It
it
did-
just appeared.
Then we get into some more flower portraits. So we had you lying down,
I
just
like
to.
how confused I look sometimes. It's rare I'd say that. I mean, a lot of them I'm like, oh, look at you. Oh, you're doing a face, are you? You're doing a face. But I like a lot of them.
You look quite happy in this, despite the fact you've been asked to lie in the grass amongst sun sex. And
Yeah, you
everything
get a
else.
certain age and you have to be asked. You can't do it just apropos of nothing. 'Cause, so you lose friends.
The problem was just looking into the sun as well. It's hard to keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
This arguably could have been taken out because Darryl, we have the photo. Darryl's got the photo of you from the front, with the
Alright.
hands and hip pose.
Oh, right.
That was just a nice sort of silhouette into the green and the light
Yeah,
there.
make an album. Front and back cover.
I feel like we've missed something somewhere.
One did flick by. I don't know what it was, but one went click click. It was
Uh,
one before that one.
This one. This was my favourite. This was
Oh, it's Baxter in the bin.
Baxter in the bin, a broken plastic bin, and you looking very forlorn and just sort of like something bad has happened to Baxter and you can't quite
Yeah.
come
It
to
doesn't-
terms with the severity of the actions that got us there.
Doesn't take much to go method with Baxter. I'm worried about him right now. I mean, he might move around on his own. I don't know. He's always around where I left him. Like, so that it doesn't make anything that I probably was wandering about.
If he was in Toy Story, he'd definitely be at Sid's house.
Yeah.
A deep cut Toy Story reference.
Yeah, that was one for the.
Appreciate it.
I remember seeing that and no one had done CGI at all. And it was a good film, but I remember leaving going, that tarmac at the end looked incredible. That's what I took away from Toy Story. That tarmac is spot on.
Are these mine?
This is now Darryl's set.
Hey, Dad. Hold on.
Just have a peek through and then click the left arrow.
Okay. So,
And we'll make these available to you so you can use them for
Right,
whatever you
awesome.
want to use
No,
them for.
that's really great.
so my thoughts for your set. We started off on the road and went through to the forest part.
Uh-huh.
My main thoughts were I'd get some standard sort of 6x4 portraits, usually with some negative space if you want to put
Yeah.
your dates or comedy, yeah. And then the other one were 5x4s, which fits Instagram. It takes up the most like real estate if you're making posts.
Righty-ho, righty-ho.
But yeah, okay.
Darryl puts a lot more thought into this than I do.
So yeah, just standard, nice green background, made it a wee bit darker to make
Oh,
it stand
flat.
out.
Uh-huh.
A little
Obviously, Baxter had to feature.
close up of Baxter,
Yeah.
with the leading lines and the pillars behind it. And then just one of you looking wistful,
Ah.
thinking about something.
Yeah.
Can you see these okay?
Yeah. And I'm not seeing the clarity in my face, but I can see well enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
This
see
was
that.
one of my favourites, I think. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you can see that.
Yeah.
I just liked your expression in your eyes, and I think the shirt matching the colour of your eyes as well was cool.
Right.
Was that an intentional wardrobe choice before you arrived?
Yeah, I
colour
mean,
eyes?
because it's sunny again, so I put it back on for a gig. But yeah, it was picked by a favourite 7-year-old. Picked that out for me. And she doesn't know my background because talk about that with her. But yeah, it's great.
It was a good shirt.
Matches Baxter and me book. Oh, look at that! Look at all that colour.
Yeah, this one you're reading your book with the bear to the side, and just had the leading lines of the kerb again.
Mm-hmm.
This one,
thinking again.
yeah, this one I was a wee bit annoyed I had your feet cut off. But aside from that, I still wanted to keep it because I quite liked your expression.
Is that the book you're writing in?
I'm on my book 2 now, but my book's been there for a long time. Yeah, a lot of it is just headings of like each gig. I go, right, I'll do that bit, that bit, that bit. So it's a lot of the same headings, but
I liked it just being called my book. It's like
my
it was
book.
unique to you, but it's cool. And then it goes into the
no,
more
that's
kind
like
of
me being natural. I can't
classic
look
kind
at
of
that one.
headshot ones.
Is that how I look like normally? When
Which
the
did-
residents come in and go, what the fuck's this? It's me going, hi.
I thought you looked good. I took a few when we were getting the settings right and just kind of waited. I usually try and wait until you get like a more natural face because we were talking.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
talking
No,
to
it was
Stu and
good.
stuff.
That was the way structured as well, just chatting as well. It was great. Yeah, because if it was just in a studio, I'd be like, all right, okay. Here we
It
go.
feels very stilted all of a sudden.
I like that one. I look lost.
That one's my favourite because your expression, I think, like fits you and your comedy quite well. To me, anyway. And then you're kind of sitting there nice and centered with a plain background.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
My
quite like
feet
this
are
one.
slightly turned in,
Yeah, it's just.
like into myself as well. Like,
Oh yeah,
protect. Just me.
it was a good. You were good at posing. You gave us a variety of poses to work with, which I
Yeah,
like.
it did in facial expressions and
And these
Yeah,
ones
protect.
were more in mind for having like some comedy, or
Yep.
on this night.
so that's very thinking ahead to add because you had
That's
you
awesome.
had Ian like point
Yeah,
like with that in mind. So
so just
that's-
point into the nothing. And then we have the
What?
the raw sexual power of this pose.
smell it.
Alright, moving swiftly on that. Then these are ones that I think the last few might be similar to Struan's as well. The kind of the Forrest Gump / Afterlife bench. The throw. I preferred Struan's angle with the throw.
So that's
I
where
was
my hand goes.
that-
That's
about
not.
to say that.
He's not got gape. That's where my hand goes.
Oh dear, it wasn't
That's the episode of the title. He's not got
He's
gape.
not got gape.
you weren't throwing him up. He was self-propelled.
And then just finished it off with a nice shot of your shoes because they were too
Aye.
good
The
not to
shoes
have
were epic.
their own shot.
Yes, a gift.
Oh, are there more? Is it out of order? Yeah,
yeah, I thought I'd switch up.
that's the last one.
Lovely. I suppose there.
Are you laughing? But yeah,
Very cool. Very cool.
yeah. If anyone wants to see Ian's comedy, some comedy, yeah, first Thursday of every month, the Smoke and Go.
First Thursday of every month. Yep. 9:00 start.
9 o'clock start, and it is a brilliant night and very funny. I'd highly recommend it. Free, just take tips, right?
Yeah, it's free. The bar budget it, but you know if we get a fair few people on, I like to go around at the end. Again, partly we'll get money. Most people just have the cards now, but a lot
Yeah.
repeat customers are bringing like a £5 or a £10, which is great, and then
Yeah.
it just all goes into just making sure everyone gets a bit of money, and
I was guilty for
even
that
just paying
myself.
for travel as well. No, and I always say to people like, no, it's just good to get bums on seats. I mean it.
Yeah, no, it's
No,
a
they-
great night. I'm
yeah,
going to
yeah.
definitely bring more people. And I think it was Paul's first paid gig, so he was chuffed with that.
Oh, it's Paul's hand to Geeta's. Yeah, Geeta's
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gutted. I really wanted to see because we had Paul on, so I was looking forward to seeing him. But I had something else I could not go out that night, so unfortunately missed it. Did you manage to get the voice recording of it?
No, because
No.
I was trying to take phone photos, but with the light, they weren't very good because
Right, yeah.
the photographer was off sick, and I looked at my camera before I left and then didn't bring it. But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I didn't want to message and say, I know you're coming to enjoy yourself, but can you do stuff?
I know you should have. Honestly, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying yeah for you, like.
He's like, yeah, Daryl gets annoyed at that. But thank you so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having us. And I mean, great company, the people you're getting on.
And I think just for the people who might be listening to this but maybe aren't so inclined to look at the video, it's worth looking at the video for these photos, but also because we have David Allen's behind the scenes taken on film from the evening, which, having seen them just half an hour ago, are epic.
You're too kind.
And it's worth watching for that.
What have you done? What?
Remember, I took the photos. The
I'm
you
not an
had
elderly
the-
relative, but I
the,
like
uh,
it. Do you remember earlier?
So yeah, remember what was it? X amount
Kind
of days ago.
face.
What was it? Do you not hear the obnoxious clunking of the analog camera?
Oh,
going
yes,
off?
yes, yes. Oh, yeah, I do know, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
call it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
Lovely stuff. What's it called?
Portrait and a podcast.
The what?
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what is it? I was going to...
Portrait and a podcast.
Portrait and a podcast.